Welcome to The Practical Intuitive, where host Robyn Fritz explores mind, body, and spirit for the real world. Robyn is an intuitive, spiritual consultant and past life regression specialist based in Seattle, Washington. As the Practical Intuitive, she explores life on our conscious, evolving planet, our Mother. It's all here, from how the world really works to intuition, the human-animal bond, mediumship, clearing space with space cooperating, and spirituality. It's Robyn Fritz, the Practical Intuitive, helping you master body, mind, and spirit for the real world. No ifs, ands, buts, or BS ever.
Welcome to the Practical Intuitive, mind, body, spirit for the real world. It's Robyn Fritz, and today I want to talk with you about using your intuition in your daily life. A lot different than how other people talk about it. And I'm laughing because I want to share some fun stories, some sad stories, but just how amazing it is to just let yourself go and connect with the planet as an equal, as one of many beings that live here and honor our mother, our beloved conscious planet. So, again, my name is Robyn Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and a past life regression specialist. I'm based in Seattle, Washington. I am very happy to say that our 6 weeks of the lid on the smoke box in Seattle is long gone, and the rain has returned, and the storms have returned, and fall has arrived. I'd say fall, actually, winter. This year we went from winter to summer and summer to winter in Seattle. So just one of those odd years. But I love the Pacific Northwest. I love where I live on the edge of the ocean. This morning I was out with my dog Ollie, and our resident orcapod was on the other side of the sound enjoying itself, swimming south. And I just remembered how blessed I am to live in such a beautiful area. And I live with my reincarnated animal family, my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Oliver, who's 7, and my Russian blue cat Karis, who is 5, well, 5.5. So today I want to talk about intuition in daily life. And I'm going to talk about how we connect with our mother, our beloved planet, because my goal in restarting my show after a long time off for health issues is to help us all be ambassadors to our planet, to our mother, our conscious, alive, evolving planet, and how we can really create a better relationship with our neighbors, our cities, our countries, with all the people and all the beings on the planet by learning to tap our intuition and learning to think of ourselves as equals with all life. And so, what does that mean? I mean, how do we create a world where we live in harmony as equals with all life? And we start out by thinking of that as equals and of looking at other beings as equal to us in fulfilling their role in that incarnation to grow in love and connection with the planet and with all life. So as we talk about living in a collaborative world and what collaboration means and what does body, mind, and spirit mean in this world, I'm going to talk about intuition today in terms of planetary connection. It's a mindset that I was taught by non-humans. It's words that I made up to help us think about living in a world of equals where everything is alive, has a soul, is conscious, has a job to do, has a responsibility to choose to either do that job or not do it based on their current circumstances, and free choice. So we're going to look at intuition in daily life, but I want to first help you connect with my crystal partner, Fallon, who's a citrine Lemurian quartz. currently in the shape of a crystal ball. Not my choice, not his, but that's what happened to him. He's an ancient power crystal, and you can connect with him on the show in the way your intuition works most strongly. So if you take a deep breath and just relax into your chair and just imagine that you're connecting with the crystal Fallon. Some people can see him. Citrine Lemurian quartz is a faint yellow cast from the citrine, but he's clear. You can see through him. He has multiple planes. He's very beautiful in this current form, just not what he would have chosen if they had asked him when they carved him from his original form into a crystal ball, if that's what he wanted. But humans aren't like that. We don't think to ask other life what it wants to do. So in his current form, think of him as connecting with you and as a gold light going straight to your heart. And as you just stop and breathe that in, imagine that healthy gold light then spreading around your body with each beat of your heart. So it just floods your body with that healthy gold energy. Head to toe, down to your fingertips, down to your toes, throughout your entire body. And imagine that gold light will help you hear the stories I have to tell you today and the tips that I want to give you on connecting with other beings using your intuition. So just take a deep moment to breathe in and imagine that connection to Fallon is real, as it is, and that you're connecting with him in the way that your intuition works most strongly. So you may see him, you may just feel that gold light, that healthy energy, you may hear him chat with you, you may just know that you're connected. And you'll be connected with him throughout the show. So as I've said in all the shows that I've started since I restarted my show in October, I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the questions. I know some things and I know where to start. And we start with our mother, our beloved, conscious, evolving planet. And as I said, she's asked me to be her ambassador to the planet, to talk with you about how we think beyond our noses in looking at the entire planet as a conscious, evolving system, which is not what our culture or religion or current scientific method thinks about. But also to recognize in that you are also an ambassador to the planet, that we are all ambassadors to each other, and that helps us learn to live on the planet in a different way. So think about that when I share these stories with you. But first I want to talk about what intuition is and is not. You know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, intuition, and we connect with spirit. And I always go like, what is spirit? And people go, well, spirit is spirit. And I know I've said this before, but I'm like shaking my head, because when you sit down to eat, when you choose what you're going to get in the grocery store, when you choose what to buy for your house, when you choose to buy a house or rent an apartment, whatever you're doing in your life, you don't stop to think about what is spirit telling me. You're moving on the information that's there in front of you. You're making a decision based on your feelings, your emotions, the facts of the situation. Like, what does that vegetable look like to you in the grocery store? Is it? I bought an apple last week that had a big hole in the back of it because I wasn't really looking at the apple. I was in a hurry, and I'm like, great, right? But our intuition is there to give us information in our daily life, and we should be able to use it. I mean, it's innate in all of us. You can't say, well, I don't have intuition, because it's not true. What is true is that you may not know how to use it, or you may not know how to use it in the way you'd like. What most people tell me in my intuitive classes is they've identified as their strongest skill, which is the point of a class, but it's never the one they want. if they are strong in feelings, what they really wanted was to be able to see things intuitively. And I was like, yep, you start with what you have and then you work on. But intuition is not spiritual any more than any of our other senses that help us live our daily lives. And I think that's where people get mixed up and forget that our intuition is there basically to keep us alive, to keep us moving forward, to give us more information on making decisions. And we need to learn how to use it. In a sense, our intuition is always giving us information and may always be giving us answers to the question. The question is the problem. What question are you really asking? And how does your intuition help supply the answers to that? And, you can talk about it in academic terms, which we do when we have shows like this or teach classes, but I like to use stories. And I'm very happy to use my failures as examples or my experiences as examples, because in sharing a story, then you can look at it and you can go like, oh, like, how would I have reacted to that? Or, oh, that reminds me of this that happened and I didn't know what to think about it. And oh my gosh, that was my intuition giving me a heads up. Yeah, that's what it is. We have to learn to tap it and use it because we've been ignoring it for hundreds of years. And so we basically put blinkers on like you do with a racehorse to avoid being distracted by all that other outside information. So the trick is to be aware of the intuitive information, to get what is for you, not for other people, and to learn to use it properly, which means we have to train ourselves. So right now, put your intuitive hat on. Know that you've had a boost of energy from Fallon. And I'm going to share some stories with you now. Remember, when you use your intuition, you're also using other things. So you're also looking at an object, a situation, a decision from the facts that you have about it, from the beliefs that you have about it, from your emotions, right? From maybe what you've heard from other people, which could be facts and beliefs, and certainly from your intuition. So you need to learn to juggle all of those elements. And I promise you that, keep a notebook of your experiences, consciously practice, and over time, your intuition has become as easy for you to use as your daily senses. I mean, you don't go around thinking about touching things or smelling things or seeing things or hearing information on the news or any of the physical senses that we have. We just automatically use them because that's how we were raised, how we were born, how life goes. We just haven't been taught that intuition was real. So we didn't think about using it. So I want to go back to my childhood and tell you about my Benny chickens. So my dad, even 20 years after he died, still says, I'm the strangest kid he ever knew. So I just have to laugh because at least they kept me, right? And I know they didn't take me that seriously because the things I was talking about or doing just didn't fit what people were supposed to be doing, I guess. But because I was a girl, they didn't pay that much attention. And that is the honest truth. So as a kid, I had bantam chickens, and Benny chickens are small chickens. And our neighborhood earth mother, I'd like to call her, was out and about, and she'd teach us, how to observe things in the forest around us. And she had chickens that ran wild, and so the neighborhood kids got to have a chicken. So I had bandy chickens, and because these were wild, there were also roosters involved. So I vividly remember being a young child, and the chickens knew I was inside, and they'd put up a fuss until I came outside and sat on the back steps. Okay, so then what happened? So then the current batch of chicks would sit next to me, right, or stand next to me. And so we would all be lined up on the stairs as the two roosters in the bunch that year literally marched back and forth in front of us. And what were they doing? They were teaching us all how to crow. Literally teaching us how to crow. Now, I didn't think anything strange about that. I mean, chickens, I didn't realize that I was talking with them and communicating with them. To me, it was normal. Turned out not to be for anybody else. But each of those roosters had their own unique crow. And they would crow, and then we were supposed to crow back at it. Whether you were a hen or a rooster in training, the hens learned to crow too. I know. People say, people didn't really know about chicken history or chicken culture, but it's true. So they taught us how to crow, and to this day, I can still crow two different ways, and no, I won't burden you with that noise on a radio show, but I can still do it, and I can guarantee you it will scare your dogs in your household. Not on purpose, but it's very loud. So the other thing the Bannies taught me how to do was to fly off a wood pile that my family stacked in the back to burn wood in the fireplace. Well, that, as you can tell, was probably not really successful for me. And I was smart enough to realize I couldn't fly off the wood pile, but I did go out and join the other chickens as they practiced flying off the wood pile. Okay, so this is funny, right? But I was so shocked as an adult to find out people didn't understand chickens and chicken culture, and I did. And that's when I realized that I was having a different childhood than most people have. I can see it's time for a break here, so we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll talk about expectations and some more intuitive stories and how you can go about tapping in today.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This segment of The Practical Intuitive is brought to you by Andrea Bovey, licensed insurance agent at boveyinsurance.com. Andrea specializes in affordable health insurance. Yes, affordable health insurance exists. It's called a defined benefit plan, and it's a budget concept. That means you'll be able to see any doctor, access outpatient services, receive covered preventative services such as mammograms and colonoscopies, enjoy unlimited free virtual doctor visits, and be covered for urgent care, ER, and hospital visits. There's more. During a free consultation, insurance agent Andrea Bovey can help you decide if you should add critical illness or accident coverage, so all your risks are covered when something serious occurs. All this while still delivering savings. Yes, the premiums can be much lower than those in marketplace plans. Ready to check it out? Go to boveyinsurance.com to book a free consultation with insurance agent Andrea Bovey. Andrea is based in Arizona, but she works by phone and webinar so she can help you wherever you are. Andrea works with her clients to find the best healthcare products at the best prices. Ready to learn more? Contact Andrea Bovey at boveyinsurance.com. That's BOVEY insurance.com.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. So I was talking about my Banny chickens. Okay, funny story. I was a little kid, kind of a lonely kid, and I just did what the other chickens did, right? And never thought anything of it. I felt glad to be included in chicken culture. But it was years later that I found out that we don't know anything about how chickens live. And I'm like, what? Of course we do. And it made me start thinking about how we take for granted what we think we know as humans without really finding out what other things know as and what they are, what a chicken thinks, what a tree thinks, what our homes and businesses think. And of course, that eventually led me to the life I lead today, where I consult with people on intuitive and business issues. But one of my favorite things is helping people clear their spaces in cooperation with their homes, helping, literally talking to them about what their home or business is thinking or feeling or needing or wanting. And it's it's such an honor to have those issues in a place work out. Not all the time, because nothing is 100%, but to find people having better connections with the space around them. Just like with those chickens, I had a relationship with them, and I didn't think I was better than them. I just dove in as a kid, ready to play with the chickens. Okay. And I didn't have any expectations beyond learning what they were going to teach me. So harmony and cooperation, how can you get into the mindset of a non-human, and how will they help you live a better life and make a better contribution to the planet around you? Well, maybe it's just improving your sense of humor. Maybe it's understanding animals around you or your home. But think about it. So here's another story. A couple of years ago, I'd finished a really busy week of sessions, clients calling, looking for intuitive insight, past life regressions, all of that. And I was exhausted, and it was a Friday afternoon. And I thought, okay, it's the end of the week, and I need to go to the hardware store and finish running some errands so that I could just goof off on the weekend. So I was getting up to the hardware store where not that much parking right there. It's a very tiny lot. And as I started to turn in and park, I thought, no, I don't want to take that spot, because that Volvo there is going to back into me. And then I was like, oh, get over yourself, Robyn. Your work week is over. It's a Volvo. People know how to drive Volvos. I'm not going to worry about it. So I went ahead and I parked in that spot. When I came out of the store, there were some people standing around in the parking lot. And I said, hey, are we having a party? And this guy comes up to me and goes, is this your car? And I'm thinking, oh, for crying out loud. The guy in the Volvo had backed into my car just like I had seen. And I'm like, God, why don't I listen to myself? See, no, this is a lesson for all of us. When your intuition gives you some information, don't ignore it. Right? So that's how I got my bumper fixed. And that's an example of intuitive knowing. Okay. I can tap in and use all of the intuitive senses: seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. Intuitive knowing is my strongest. And it can be very surprising, or give you information that doesn't make sense in the real world, or that isn't linear. And that's fine. That's how it works. You got to learn how to use it. So there was nothing in that parking situation that would have told me I was going to get hit by that Volvo, except that as I went to park, I'm like, I shouldn't park there because that guy in the Volvo is going to hit me. And so I'm looking at him and I'm looking at my car, and he goes, oh, I'm so upset. I've never had an accident before. I'm sorry I bumped into you. And I said, what were you thinking? And he said, well, my backup mirror isn't working. Backup camera isn't working. And I said, okay, so then you just went ahead and backed up anyway. I mean, like, you didn't look out your mirrors. I was cranky. Poor guy had to put up with my crankiness, but my car got fixed, and I learned a lesson again, which is to listen to your intuition when it gives you information. Now, think about it. How often do you get information ahead of time? How often do you go like, oh, I shouldn't park there. Oh, I shouldn't have this for dinner. Or I really need a lot of broccoli for dinner tonight. Or all kinds of things, right? Driving down the street, oh, I shouldn't do that. Another example is driving down, I live in West Seattle, so I live on the water, by the water, I should say, not on the water. And I was driving up a windy hill in West Seattle, and I was behind a little pickup truck. There was nothing about that pickup truck that was alarming. It had some stuff in the back end, but it looked nice and well maintained. There was no reason to be worried about that pickup truck. And yet suddenly it was like, I need to back up. Oh, okay, so that time I was listening. So I looked in my rearview mirror, made sure the guy behind me knew, something was coming, and I tapped my brakes so the car behind me could tell, and they slowed down, and I slowed down, and gave distance to that little pickup truck. And what happened next? A ladder flew off the back of the truck into the road. Now, if I hadn't listened to that, knowing that I needed to give that pickup space, that ladder would have either hit my car or would have run into it because I didn't have room to avoid it. So there's no common sense there, right? You don't know that, a normal distance between cars isn't enough in that instance, right? There's nothing in science that's going to tell you that something's going to happen. You learn to let your intuition inform you. And that's a problem with our culture these days. It doesn't allow us to trust the intuition that we are all born with. So again, it's like blinkers on a racehorse. You can't see anything but right in front of you. You can't experience the whole world around you. And honestly, it's very sad when you can't share a joke with a tree or have a conversation with a whale out in the sound or just appreciate the scenery around you or your home itself and what it needs. You're missing out, and you're failing in your job to be an ambassador to our mother and to the planet. And you're not giving yourself the best chance to succeed in your life at home and at work. So in learning to use your intuition is important. And unfortunately, we have to learn to use it because we've been told it's not real for so long that we've forgotten it. Okay. So what about that parking spot in the Volvo? So common sense, would tell you that a Volvo driver is going to be careful, right? And that was a belief system. Oh, he's driving a Volvo. I don't have anything to worry about. But, the facts of the situation is everybody can make a mistake, right? And just because Volvos are supposed to be safe doesn't mean their drivers are necessarily, right? So my belief system, everything, and my just exhaustion just combined to make me not listen to my intuition. So how many times a day or a week, a month, are you not listening because what you've been taught to believe or what you think isn't in line with what your experience is right there in front of you, right? So one more story. And then I'm going to give you some tips on how to use your intuition on a daily basis that really helps you improve your life, have more fun, be more content, be more relaxed, be more of an explorer. So I was down in Carmel, California some years ago, and I was staying at a little hotel, and I got to the hotel just at cocktail hour. Yay. So 6:00 every night, they'd have wine and cheese for the people staying at the hotel. And unfortunately, I can't drink alcohol. I like it. I love scotch. I love wine, but I get a terrible headache. So I had soda. But anyway, I had a chance to meet a bunch of people from around the world and just hear their stories of how they ended up in Carmel and where they'd been and so on. Anyway, at the end of cocktail hour, the host of the hotel was walking me across the courtyard to my room. He had already taken my suitcase there when he told me to go ahead and enjoy cocktail hour, and he'd show me the way to my room afterwards. So as we're walking across the courtyard, which is these big, huge paving stones, so really, no grass, no dirt, just paving stones, there was a big tree right in the middle of the courtyard. And as I walked under the tree, and everybody had left the cocktail hour, and they were kind of mingling around the edges of the courtyard, getting ready to go either to dinner or just back to their rooms. And so we'd all say goodbye. So they were all standing there. As I walked under the tree, I heard this voice say, "I'm just waiting here to die." Well, I stopped dead. And I'm like, what was that? I mean, I was horrified. I am just waiting here to die. And I knew the voice came from behind and above me. So I turned and I looked back and I looked up, and there was this enormous thing in the tree. And so I'm staring up at it, and the man who's taking me to my room comes back, and he's waiting for me. Like, "What's your deal, Robyn?" And I looked up and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "It's a staghorn fern." Because I'd never seen a staghorn fern in the wild, and it was enormous. And I said, "Well, why is it telling me it's just waiting here to die?" And he looked at me, and he got this pained look on his face, and he stepped back and he pointed up. And as I stepped back and I looked up, I saw the tree the staghorn fern was on was dying. And I felt terrible. And he said, "This staghorn fern is 100 years old. The tree is dying. When the tree dies, the fern will die." And I'm like horrified, right? And I said, "Well, what are you going to do about it? I mean, it's a healthy fern." And he said, they tried contacting a conservatory in San Francisco, and it was going to be a lot of trouble to try to transplant it and blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, I spent part of my vacation there going around the neighborhood and finding other trees that they could move the staghorn fern to, but nobody paid any attention to me. I think they paid attention to the conservationists, but a couple years later when I was back, the tree was gone and the fern with it. I don't know what happened to the staghorn fern, but think about that. I wasn't actually looking to connect with anything. I was simply walking across the courtyard to my room. I was tired. I'd been traveling for several days, seeing family members, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, "I'm just waiting here to die," right? Well, you could say that fern had maybe been saying that to a lot of people over time, and I was the only one to hear, or the only one to respond, and the only one to ask questions. It was certainly the hotel people told me no one else had ever asked about that like that, so I don't know. But in our daily lives, how do we pay attention to what's around us? And can we help them? Not all the time, no, but can we listen? right? I told this fern that I was sorry that it was dying and how beautiful it was. And I wished I could do more for it. But the reality is I couldn't. I'm wondering now if they could have taken part of that dying tree and just mounted that somewhere. I don't know. The fern was huge. It was like the oldest staghorn fern anybody knew about. But the question is, our intuition is always giving us information. And the world around us is always trying to communicate with us. Well, sometimes trying to communicate with us. The idea is, are we listening? Right? Because if you don't think other things are out there and that are equal to us and have souls and are conscious and have jobs to do in the bodies that they've chosen in that incarnation, I don't know what the staghorn fern, what the soul in that fern was planning on doing in its lifetime. We didn't have that involved a conversation, but everything out there is alive. And I tell you, there are plenty of things I talk about that go like, wow, no other humans talk to us. And like, you guys think you're so cool and like we can't communicate. And that's true. If you don't think that something can connect with you, why would you bother to try? And so what I'm trying to do today is to say your intuition is that thing that you're born with that helps you connect with the world around us, that planetary connection idea where everything is alive and has a soul and has consciousness and a job to do and a responsibility to choose and a choice. The world becomes much bigger, more fascinating. We have more hope, more humor, more connection, and we're not as lonely. I mean, we keep looking to outer space to meet ETs, right? We are lonely. We want connection, but a connection is all around us. We just need to be open to it and invite ourselves and the world around us to relax and connect. And I'm going to give you some more tips on that after the break, because I've given you plenty of stories to think about what experience you've been having and to know that those are real experiences and you can dig deep into them. Hang on, we'll be right back.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robyn, Fritz here in Seattle, Washington. The wind's died down. The rain has stopped temporarily. It's supposed to be really cold tonight. And I'm connecting with my plants on my deck who are like saying, you better cover us up or we'll freeze in our pots. And I'm like, yes, you will. And that's also intuition in action. So I've given you some stories, something to think about. And I know that as you're listening, you're thinking of times when you've had experiences like that and you thought, well, I must be crazy, or I'm tired, or, oh, this is a sci-fi novel in action. And no, it's just really your intuition asserting itself finally in a climate that still isn't as open to it as it could be. And so you're a pioneer as well as an ambassador. So hang on to that as you explore your intuition. Now let's talk about that. So, your basic intuitive abilities: seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. And you can add others to that. I unfortunately have an ability to smell mold where other people don't know it is. So that either makes me popular or unpopular with whatever real estate agent I happen to be working with at the moment. But when you're working with your intuition, you're going to get strange answers. So my suggestion is to take the first hit that comes to you, write it down, and no matter how strange it is, investigate it, right? By the time I met that staghorn fern, I'd been used to things talking with me. I just, was startled and stopped to talk with it. And I just wonder how many people hadn't heard or paid attention or dismissed what they thought they heard, because things like that don't happen in real life, but they do. So here's one of the things when you're using your intuition in the mindset of planetary connection. It's what I call the earth paradigm. So there are two paradigms. There's the human paradigm that makes us think we're on top of the world and, the ultimate apex predator, and everybody and everything should do what humans say. And, well, look what that's done for the planet. Yeah, really helpful, right? And then there's the earth paradigm, which I'm talking about, planetary connection, where everything, again, has a soul, is conscious, is alive, has a job to do, responsibility, free choice, and opinions, lots and lots and lots of opinions, right? So when we're connecting with non-humans, we need to think of ourselves as ambassadors, as diplomats. We need to give them the respect that we would expect in return from anything or anyone else, right? So one of the things I tell people in my classes is learn the attitude, learn the feelings, learn what's going on in the world around you. Intuitively connecting will follow from that, right? Be respectful, have manners. Now, if you don't have manners with humans in your life, then, I can't help you. You got a lot of work to do just in connecting with other humans. But other beings have their own customs. They have manners. They have language. They have connection. I can tell you at some point coming up in the coming weeks, all about cars and car culture and what cars think and do. And oh my God, I had no idea. And this was back in 2004 when I was buying a car. So what are the customs of that particular incarnation? What are the customs of trees, of staghorn ferns, of homes which are very protective of their people, and a business, and the oceans and the volcanoes, and really your fellow humans, and relax and be calm and be inspired by the world around you, and relax and have fun. And when you're connecting with other beings on the planet, go out and, don't make it a high stakes situation. Like, should I buy this house or not? You would know eventually if you just allow yourselves to relax and connect with the world around you and have fun doing that. I mean, yes, there are some beings out there that really aren't interested in connecting with us because they're as stuck up as we are, and as we haven't been paying attention to them, I think, why bother? So I've had those conversations with non-humans. And I'm like, well, we're bothering now, So practice, just go for a walk, connect with other things, connect with the things in your house, ask them what their names are. So I'm going to give you a procedure here. And don't dictate or impose your opinion on other beings. Just, find out what they're up to. And don't assume an answer, and don't violate their privacy. Years ago, I took a couple animal communication classes, and I was literally appalled at teachers saying, "Oh, just jump right in your dog's head and find out what they're thinking." I'm like, really? And how would you react if somebody jumped in your head and messed around in there while you were sleeping? Come on, be respectful. Figure out their customs. Figure out how you can be diplomatic in a world that isn't just human, right? And how would you translate being respectful to other humans to being respectful for a tree, right? Well, first you have to realize it's equal to you, and that's a big leap for a lot of humans. So don't get emotional. Just be practical and straightforward, and don't worry if you're connecting with something and you get a complete blank, right? Because sometimes things aren't interested in talking. They're busy doing something else. And sometimes when you're looking for an answer intuitively, the answer is you don't know. That's the answer. So don't worry about being right when you're practicing your intuition. Just get in there and practice, right? So think about two things. One is what I call the energy of hello, right? So be inviting and relaxing. So take a deep breath and walk up to a tree and introduce yourself and relax and be inviting, right? And don't push. Don't push. If you don't get anything, excuse yourself and move on. And here's the other important thing. We all hold the fate of the world in our hands, or tree branches, or house foundation, or whatever. We all together hold the fate of the world in our hands. We are all individually and in community responsible for the fate of the world, our mother, our planet. And so I'm being very serious while telling you to have a lot of fun, allowing this concept of the earth paradigm of planetary connection to inform you as you go about and let your intuition start making you a whole person. Because anytime you're blocking it or ignoring it, you're not being whole, you're not being complete. And it's not a fault. It's an uphill battle to deal with what our culture has taught us for hundreds of years, either that we're witches and devils and bad people and possessed, and, they used to lock us up in mental health wards, right? We hold the fate of the world in our hands, and the energy of hello. Just think about it. I say hello to you. It's relaxed, it's calm, it's inviting, and cool things happen. So here's a procedure I want you to use when you practice using your intuition to connect with the world around us. You want to get yourself grounded and balanced, right? So we kind of did that at the beginning of the show, and I gave you a different way of connecting with Fallon. Take a deep breath. You can run an energy line head to toe, but you don't want to be frazzled. You want to be relaxed and contained within your body, right? So you can have this whole experience grounded and balanced. However you do that, an energy line or just taking a deep breath and, okay, I'm ready. And then you kind of want to shield yourself. So you can invite your spiritual team to shield you. For most people, that's not going to be a problem. For other people, things will come to check you out, and they're not necessarily benevolent because, the universe isn't made up of all good guys. So shielding is a way to keep out the unwanted influences as well as all the extra things. So if you really want to just talk to a particular tree or a rock on the beach or your car, which cars are really cool, then just shield yourself so that the only input you're getting is from that car or tree or whatever it is. So you're not overwhelmed by all the things that are coming to check you out. So ground, balance, shield, and then introduce yourself. Oh, hello. I go like, hi, my name is Robyn. Would you like to have a conversation? And they go like, yeah, no. I'm like, fine then. But most will, or they'll be curious. So introduce yourself. You can ask you a question. Ask the question, right? Perceive the answer or conversation. and then thank them for connecting with you, and then record what you learned. So if you take a notebook with you on your explorations or even sitting in your living room, ground balance shield, introduce yourself, ask if they would like to have a conversation with you, have the conversation, follow their lead, if you will, or just say, I'd like to know what you do, and when you're done, thank them and move on. Now, really, isn't that like having a conversation with a stranger on the street or a friend that you haven't seen for a while? You don't have to introduce yourself, but it's a process of manners and respectful and being considerate. So, as you do this, in my classes, I introduce people to Raymond the Jade Tree. Raymond sits in my living room. I had to have a whole section of my living room built to support him. He weighs well over 400 pounds. And he's in a giant pot that I bought in a panic and realized after he was repotted that I'll never be able to get him out of the house because the pot is too big to go through the doorway. But if you want to practice what I've just told you, you're welcome to connect with Raymond the Jade Tree. And you don't have to see him. You don't have to be in the same room. You just say, I'd like to connect with Raymond the Jade Tree at Robyn's house. Take 5 minutes, get whatever information you want or you can from Raymond, like who he is, what he's been doing, what his job is, all of those kinds of things. Write it down. And you can email me with your answers, and I'll let you know what I know. But you can use that process with anything, and it works. Trust me, it works. So the message I want to give you today is to pay attention, to relax and have fun, to be respectful of all life, and it will respect you. To practice getting grounded and balanced so you know the difference between everyday information and your intuition, because sometimes your body's taking in that information. And be respectful. So I want to end with a story that will remind you that we're not always right, and we need to learn to discern the intuitive information that we're getting. So last year, April of last year, I suddenly had extreme pain, what I thought was a groin injury, which was misdiagnosed. And it turned out the last bit of cartilage in my hip died, and I needed a new hip. But I was in extreme pain for months. I mean, they had given me shots, so you had to wait 3 months for the shots to wear off. It's the pandemic, so you have to wait for a surgeon. I got sick, so I had to wait another month. So basically, I was in extreme pain and literally could not walk, could not take care of my family, had to have groceries delivered. Somebody came every day for weeks and weeks to walk my dog. It was a very aggravating and humbling and painful period in my life. But as it got closer to surgery, I had two things kept showing up in my head. And one was death in the hospital on Wednesday. And the second was I was going to lose my leg. Now, my surgeon operates only on Wednesdays, and losing your leg in a hip replacement surgery is possible. It happens, but it's rare. Right? But those two things kept popping into my head. Death in the hospital on Wednesday. And that happened for weeks, right? So I made sure that my will was intact, that I knew where my kids would go if I didn't come home from the hospital, all of that kind of thing. And what happened next? One of my closest friends died in the hospital the Wednesday before my surgery. COVID. And I was so upset at losing her, but it also took me a couple days to go, death in the hospital on Wednesday. Oh, that wasn't me, that was her. And I was so focused on myself and all the extreme pain and the exhaustion I was in that I didn't ask if that intuitive information was for me or for somebody else. So that's a lesson for you and a lesson for me. And it wouldn't have mattered for my friend because she got COVID and she refused to be vaccinated and she didn't make it. So that was that. So the second one was was losing my leg, right? So, well, that was not so fun. So it took a long time, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was in the hospital, and the next day, they have these cuffs that they put on your legs from your knees to your ankles, and those cuffs squeeze every whatever, so that you know that they're keeping you from having blood clots. Well, one of those cuffs wasn't working. It was a cuff on the leg that had surgery. And the nurse was there, and he walked around and he looked at the machine at the end of the bed, and he said, "Oh, it's registering that your leg isn't there." And I laughed out loud because there was a second one. Losing my leg in the hospital was, "Hey, I don't think the cuff is working on my leg. Would you check it, please?" And he's like, "Oh, it's registering your leg isn't there. Let me fix it." So that one was for me. So remember to use your intuition, to pay attention. It's your birthright. It's your responsibility. Have fun with it. And connect with me on my website at robynfritz.com. I'm going to have some webinars up there that you can use to practice on this. So hang in there. We'll see you on the third week of the month. And thanks for tuning in. Take care.